All right, we are back from our standing break and also trying to find things to keep us warm in this incredibly cold conference room. And our last major topic, which is the Department of Planning and Zoning update on the Affordable Housing Working Group and the Adequate Public Facility Ordinance next steps. And with us today, we have, would you all like to introduce?
Yes, absolutely. Good morning, Linda Eisenberg, Director of DPZ, and with me today is Mary Kendall, our Deputy Director, and Jessica Bella, the other Deputy Director in the department. So we are here to brief you, as you said, on next steps for the Housing Affordability Work Group and the Adequate Public Facilities Task Force, two important initiatives that we're getting ready to embark on. Next. All right, you can keep going. All right. So as you may recall from the general plan, the Housing Affordability Work Group is mentioned in two areas of HOCO by design. In the Dynamic Neighborhoods section, it was identified as action number 4 to establish a working group that consists of members appointed by the county executive and county council. It is concurrent with the AFFO evaluation. Also, in Managing Growth, Action 1, to establish this working group consisting of members, again, appointed by this body as well as the county executive to have discussions about recommending goals and criteria for targeting incentives for programs for affordable and accessible housing, and the housing affordable set-aside in the AFFO allocation chart. So that's why these are running concurrently and hand-in-hand, so to speak, with the AFFO task force. So as you know, you provided us with members for our working group. We have 11 members of this work group, I should say, and 2 non-voting members. The county executive provided names for 6 members, and the council also provided names for an additional 5 members. Those are all voting members of the 11 people that make up the group, and then 2 non-voting members, which is Kelly Simino and Peter Engel, who will also serve on the group. The idea of the group was to really bring together members of the community who are very knowledgeable in housing affordability and that have a high technical understanding of how to move this particular item forward in terms of what would it mean for AFFO and what it will mean for a comprehensive rezoning. So where we are in regards to the timing of this, if you can just go to the next slide, thank you. So we're kicking off actually now in July. Our first meeting of this Housing Affordability Work Group is this Monday, 4 to 5 p.m. Jessica Bella is heading up this initiative, so we're really excited to be able to be kicking that off. And then the game plan is to move through late summer and fall with reviewing affordable housing materials. I'm kind of going through all the background information that we've been preparing. Jessica and her team have prepared, and she can speak more to it, information and background information to provide the group to educate them on where we are and where we need to be going. And then looking to the spring of next year to develop a written report and assessments and recommendations that will also be given to the AFFO work group as well, and then to have those recommendations to you, the county executive and the county council, in early summer of next year. So, you know, this is the anticipated timeline. It can move much quicker than this depending on how often the work group feels that they can meet. There's still going to be some dates to establish. It's a challenging group of 11 people to get together, so Jessica's been working really hard to kind of nail down some initial dates, but as the work group continues to convene, I'm sure they'll kind of figure out what process works best for that particular group. Are there any questions on?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
How often are they? I mean, it was very hard to recruit people because nobody could tell us how often they were planning on meeting, how many months it was going to take to do this, how many hours the meetings were, how long the meetings were going to be. And that's really important to people when you're trying to get them
Absolutely.
to make a commitment to be on something like this. And I mean, you guys are doing all these extra task force, and I think that we need that information to recruit people. Do you have any better feel for this? And I also don't see why it's going to take a year to do this.
Yeah,
But
my
we've already
apolo-
had, I don't know, a housing master plan, or this, or that. It seems kind of a lot.
So first, the reason the Affordable Housing Working Group is being convened is it was a specific policy directive in the general plan to convene this group. So we are responding to that policy element, and I apologize if all that information was not properly conveyed to you.
It was not, and we asked for it.
Okay. Typically, we're anticipating about a 14-hour commitment from our work group members. What we wanted to do is we're going to propose a few different kinds of meeting schedules for this group, but we ultimately wanted to kick off the group, convene the group, and figure out what works for their schedules, because it could be that they want to meet more frequently for shorter periods of time, or they want to meet for an extensive period of time but less frequently, and kind of make sure that we're scheduling this at a clip that they can move at, that can let them dive into the topics. We have a very specific scope of work for them to undertake, as directed in the general plan. So on Monday, we'll be doing our first kickoff meeting and working with the group to figure out what meeting schedule and meeting format would work best for them as a group.
Where are you meeting for this kickoff meeting?
It'll be a virtual meeting, and the link to the virtual meeting is posted online. So that is accessible to anyone who would like to attend that meeting.
And where will the link be posted?
It's currently posted online under our boards and commissions page for Howard County, as well as we have created a dedicated page on the DPZ website. And we can send you the direct link if you would like.
That would
to
be
have the
great.
direct
I would
link.
appreciate that. And why, if it's a total of a 14-hour commitment, are we spreading it out over an entire year?
Well, quite honestly, the answer is it was very difficult to find time for this group to meet. If I had fit with everyone's blackout and prior commitments, they wouldn't be able to convene until next spring. So really, we just wanted to hedge in enough time for this group to be able to commit and get all of the expertise that we have selected to convene and actually address the topics. Our hope is that we'll do the kickoff. We'll undertake the majority of the work this fall heading into winter, and then make sure that they can have time to develop those reports. We also want to make sure that that report and the recommendations can inform the work of the overall AFFO committee, so that both the recommendations of the Affordable Housing Committee as well as the AFFO task force can be taken together and delivered to the county council and the county executive for their review.
And is all this for, I know where you have, or we have been told by the administration that you all don't want to talk about comprehensive rezoning today, but is all this work being done toward that end?
Yes, it'll be for two ends, the AFFO goal, as we said, for the housing allocation, and then also to inform comprehensive rezoning for some of the best practices that are coming out of this, as also recommended by the general plan and the HOMP, to bring all of that forward for the comprehensive rezoning effort.
So it just seems, once again, that this is just like taking way too much time. And I've said it, a number of times. We managed to get comprehensive rezoning done in a year after the other general plans, and this will take us into year two.
So just as a correction, we've only done that one time where we took it immediately after the adoption of the plan, and that was Plan Howard 2030. So when that plan was adopted in 2012, we did do a comprehensive rezoning in 2013. My understanding was that comprehensive rezoning was planned at the time of the plan's adoption, and so they rolled right into it, and there's just a few amendments that were made. So when we say comprehensive rezoning, that just signals to the state that we are undertaking a method of rezoning land, because you can only do that two ways in the state of Maryland, through change or mistake or comprehensive rezoning. So when we say that, that's really what that meaning is. But during that time, my understanding is there were some very discrete changes done to the code and then some map changes following that, but not a comprehensive all-engulfing of the county doing that. And that is something definitely we will be working with you on when
Which
we come
seems
back
like this
in
would be
October.
very similar. It would be comp-light, because there aren't that many changes that would need to be made to the map, as we know.
Correct.
So that's why I'm still not understanding why it's taking so long. But we can go on. AFFO.
Okay. All right, so moving on, so Adequate Public Facilities Task Force. As you know, this is codified in how we proceed forward with this AFFO. Just kind of a brief history, this will be the fourth time that we've created an AFFO committee since its inception in 1992. The AFFO was updated in 2000 to add tests for middle schools and lower the capacity of schools now deemed closed from 120 to 115%. So that 5% was a big leap in lowering those capacities. The last update with the adoption of Plan Howard was in 2015, and there were more revisions done to the tests, the adequate tests, and added and updated code references to the timing. So this is the first time that the AFFO committee had to be convened within a certain amount of time, and then the recommendations had to be given within a certain amount of time. So the timeline typically, or the timeline that is outlined in code is 12 months to convene, and then 12 months for the recommendations to come to the council and the county executive. So this is the first time that we're undergoing AFFO in this particular manner. In addition to membership requirements, in the past, the membership, my understanding, was quite large, like 23 members for the last AFFO committee. That was really pared down to 15. So if you can just go to the next slide. And so that is very prescribed in code by statute. So we need 2 appointees from each county council member, and we would like you to get those tests if you can by the end of the month, beginning of August at the latest. We'll also send out a formal invitation for you to think about who you want your members to be, and I'm sure many of you have thought of that already. And then the county executive gets 3 appointees, and then 1 appointee from the Board of Education and 1 appointee from the Howard County Public Schools system. So again, if you could just send us those members, and we'll be reaching out to Howard County Public Schools and the Board of Education as well. Next slide. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Yep. So then again, the timing, as stated in code, is to, within 1 year of the enactment of the general plan, is to bring forth this committee and have it convene. Hoco by Design was adopted on October 19th. We're not waiting until October 19th. We are looking at the last week in September, first week in October to have our first meeting. And the duration that we have is a maximum of 12 months. That's not our intent to take 12 months, but that's just the maximum duration that we have as outlined in the code. So with that being said, here's the tentative timing that we're bringing forward. You can go next slide. So again, appoint members now, and please share them. I said mid-July, but if we could do even end of July, beginning of August, that would be great. And then in early fall to host our first public hearing as well. There's required in code 2 public hearings, so having one at the beginning and then one toward the end of the process. We don't have a date set for that yet. Once we convene our group, we'll establish a date for that. And then really looking to the fall to have that learning opportunity with background information about where our different AFFO measures are. One of the big new changes that we have with this committee is our LUTRAG, our land use transportation review committee that is coming out with their policy memo now. So once we have that policy memo from them, that will inform that level of service for transportation for our AFFO committee as well. So not only do they have to worry about schools, there's other adequate public facilities that they need to be thinking about. So schools, roads, water, sewer, infrastructure are the big ones that they need to be considering as they move through, and what is deemed adequate and what is deemed inadequate. And then to develop recommendations, host our second public hearing, and then no later than the summer of next year have the final recommendations for council to consider. Again, this is not the be-all and end-all. Hopefully we can move much quicker than that. I am going to be working with Car De Lorenzo on formulating the agendas and the timeline moving forward for this committee. And so that's all I have for you. Are there any questions?
Same question as before. Would it, again, I was not able to tell the people I was trying to recruit how many hours this would require, how many meetings, the time commitment, how they were going to meet, if it was going to be virtual, if it was going to be in person. Mm-hmm. And those were questions that, again, we asked and didn't get a response. So can you tell us the
Again,
answers
I
to
don't have
those?
the exact dates and how many hours we're going to be meeting, so that's something that we're still working through, and we will get that to you. And that's something we'll discuss perhaps with the invite to have that information so that you can share with the members that you are looking to appoint.
Okay, but I mean, I could end up that one of my appointees says I can't give that much time. I mean, I've already identified my two people. I think we've already sent the names up to you.
I haven't seen those names, but I'll look for them again unless they.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know, without having that
Sure.
information that I can't share with them, I don't know
Absolutely. So
what
when
they
we
can
send
do.
out that email, we can get some preliminary information for you regarding that.
So I'm just saying that if they can't make that commitment, once you send that information to me, I may have to, it may take more time for me to
Okay.
recruit somebody.
Absolutely. And we understand.
Anybody else? Yes.
Thank you. In regards to the housing affordability work group, DN6 Action Force. So fun times because we can all read things and interpret them differently. When I read this, to me, especially because we have inclusionary zoning in our county, especially when we have multifamily development, we are then achieving a measure of affordable units that are being created as those market rate units are being created. And I know the three of you know, but for the public, we're in a situation where, like how hermit crabs switch shells, every hermit crab is in a shell and we don't have enough extra shells to move in around and cycle through. So hermit crabs are people and their shells are homes in this analogy. But when I read incentives related to development and incentives related to the development process, it's not exclusively for 100% affordable units. This is really taking a more holistic look at the process of how to change the mix that we have, how to achieve our growth and development goals. Is that a fair interpretation, or am I missing something in it?
No, I think that's a fair interpretation of the game plan moving forward. And I mean, there's not only just goals in this as well that we have to meet, but as you know, the state had some really serious legislation that came down that gave
Yeah.
us some direction too, as far as affordable housing and incentivizing affordable housing, especially within TODs, transit-oriented developments and things
Yes.
like that. So it's more than just zoning, it's more than just this one particular type of housing, it's how do all of these things work together.
Right. Well, and in
Yeah.
our general plan, it says we want housing at TODs. So they align quite well.
Mary, did you have more to, okay.
But thank you. I appreciate that clarification because it was something that I read one way and someone else had read a different way. And I wanted to see which way you'd be going on with this, because that's one thing that really has not been delved into is how do we attract the private market to build what we need in Howard County, what we want to see, but how do we get the private market to go where we want and to do what we want? And that is not something that I have seen yet come out recently of Howard County. So I'm really looking forward to that report. Thank you for the clarification.